Good afternoon, Times Union and table hopping readers. And viewers. This is Steve Barnes from the Times Union. We're here in our fourth week now of doing live chats about the restaurant industry and what's going on, how it's adapting to the pandemic and takeout and delivery. We've talked to owners in the past, talked to a bartender last week. This week, we have Mike Mastrantuono, who is the head chef of 15 Church restaurant in Saratoga Springs. 15 Church was closed for 3 weeks, and we're here now. There's Mike. Good to see you, Mike.
Hi, everybody.
You were closed for 3 weeks. When was the last time you didn't work in a kitchen for 3 weeks? How old were you?
Oh, I don't think ever. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 days when I got married. But other than that, been at it, just keep on going. I haven't really had much time off.
And how long have you been at 15 Church? Is this 4 years now?
This is going to be my 4th patio season, yes. Yep.
And when it was first announced, the shutdown was first announced, talk to me about the discussions that went on. Did you know you were going to close immediately and then hope to reopen, or what? Because frankly, 15 Church is a really fancy upscale restaurant, and your food is not necessarily conducive to takeout. So talk to me about those.
Well, when it all started, we were obviously, all of us, the managers, owners, we're all just sitting around trying to figure out what our plan of attack is, because we knew we had to be closed. We don't know how long this is going to last. So at the time, what we came to conclusion with was that people don't really associate us with takeout. It's just something that we've never really done, and et cetera. But you know, as time went on and we realized that this thing was going to go longer and longer and longer, and my sous chef and all of the waiters, waitresses, management, we're all sitting at home cracking up. We decided, you know what, we're going to give this a shot. We're just going to try to do something that's a little bit more home style. We're going to have a kids menu, make it a little kid friendly, and have a couple of a la carte items. And we decided to pull the trigger on it going into the 3rd week, just mainly because we couldn't take it anymore. We had to do something, and we had to start going back to work. Originally, it wasn't something that we were planning on doing at all.
Right.
But
was your first takeout was for Easter? Is that right?
We did. Easter was really fast. We just wanted to try to feel it out and get the ball rolling, and Easter was a huge success. So it gave us a little bit more motivation going into the next week. And our first week was absolutely crazy. We were doing an awesome amount of takeout. The response was awesome. Customers and just our regulars who are here all the time, our regular guests, they were just so humbled by it. We were humbled by it. It was so busy. I mean, we did a Friday night that was like I was open and the patio was open. It was totally crazy. It was very motivational for everybody and staff, knowing that we were able to do something like this, because we were all scared that, you know, nobody's going to associate 15 Church with us doing takeout. We were all scared. We didn't know, obviously, the investments in getting everything going in the right packaging and making it actually an awesome meal experience, still at the same time doing takeout. But the response has been great. We're going into technically our 3rd week now with our 3rd menu, and it's going to be, we're getting a lot of phone calls already. It's going to be a big week. So
great. So last weekend, and what nights are you open? You're Thursday. Actually, it's Wednesday through Saturday.
Wednesday through Saturday. Yep.
And your busiest night last week, how many dinners did you send out the door?
If we're doing a person count, that's usually how we do it in our computer, like a people count. We did 168 on Friday, and I think it was 179 on Saturday. And Wednesday kind of caught us off guard. Our first day that we did it, I want to say it was 110 or 115 just on the first opening day Wednesday. So that's when it became like oh my God, it became like a really big scramble, because we were like, this thing's going to take off, and it's going to take off really fast.
What sort of accommodations have you had to make, just in terms of your production, or your plating, or other things besides the fact that everything's different?
Everything is different, and for us, we still have to maintain an order in the restaurant where people are still 6 feet apart. Everybody's wearing face masks. Everybody's wearing gloves. We have to have systems in place for delivery drivers. We have to have systems in place for customers. We're going around and sanitizing doorknobs every 10 to 12 minutes, the whole entire restaurant. So we have somebody just working on sanitation, and it's just a lot. The takeout itself, our staff, we have Jimmy, who usually runs the patio out in the patio season, track season, and he's the only one making customer contact. So food starts in the kitchen. We have one person plating, one person packaging, another person transporting. They get it to Jimmy. Jimmy takes it across the street to the vehicle, puts it in the vehicle if they prefer it in the vehicle, or he leaves it on a table next to the vehicle so that they can get it themselves. And it was just, the first day was a little crazy trying to figure out how we were going to do all of this, but we have it kind of worked out to a science now to where we're able to do a lot more dinners and we have a good flow. But as far as preparation and stuff like that, it became harder too, because in my mind, I'm always just thinking about food coming to a pass and coming to me and me garnishing and making sure it's perfect and sending it out. And now I'm in a totally different mindset where I've never been before. How is this going to travel? Is it too much sauce? How I have a container that's going to hold a protein if we're still going to do Cowboys, for example. We're still doing 22-ounce Cowboys to go, and people are buying them and they are loving them. But we had to find the right container, and the right.
Okay. Besides the right container, tell me about what a challenge for you as a chef, because that 22-ounce Cowboy is what,
Yep.
$60?
Yeah, it is.
So if I'm paying
Yeah.
$60 for a 22-ounce steak,
Yep.
and I get it in the restaurant, I'm getting it mere minutes, if not moments, after it comes off the grill.
Exactly.
How do you plan for somebody who's driving to Wilton?
For us, we just worry on carryover temperatures for us and make sure that the temperature is right. And for the most part, it's just making sure it comes off at the right temp and having the right container. I think having a good container is everything for especially a situation like this. We try to stagger everything within 10 to 15 minutes of each other as far as pickups. So a lot of the times when people are, we have a pickup for 2 Cowboys at 5:15. We know it's at 5:15. They know everybody has been on time. Fortunately, it's been lucky, and we're firing everything off. We're plating, we're going into container, and it's making it out the door within a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Hopefully, we haven't had any issues with it lately, but it's been working out really, really good. And we've had great customer feedback with things like that. But we've also, for us, it's hard because we're a special occasion restaurant. A lot of people come here for their birthdays, anniversaries, etc. So even if I didn't run the Cowboy, or even if I didn't run, for example, a filet next week or whatever we decide to do, we're making menus weekly. People they expect it and they want it and they're used to eating it. So I want to be able to give it to them. And I think they're also understanding at the same time that we are trying to do the best we can to put it to go and have our timing proper and stuff like that. So,
well, let's talk then about the special occasion identity of 15 Church. I mean, you do have regulars who are there several times a week, especially in the summer to sit at the patio, but a couple of your Saratoga neighbors, Salt and Char and the Blue Hen, both of which are upscale restaurants, certainly at the upper echelon the way 15 Church is, but they're doing 3 courses for $15. Which seems like an extraordinary deal. So tell me about the discussions you had related to pricing and thinking, no, we're going to stick with our identity and we trust our customers will A, pay for it, and B, find value in what they're getting to bring home from us.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, at the end of the day, the biggest struggle with opening up a takeout for us and being a special occasion restaurant was we have a brand. And for us, we're always going to buy the best product that we can possibly buy and give to our guests. We always want to be fair to them. We want to be fair to ourselves. And we always want to bring in the best product we can bring. So that was our number one struggle with reopening for takeout. We had a choice. We had a decision to either cook, food that was what we do, or if we're going to do something that's not what we do. And ultimately, we made a decision to stick to our brand and cook the food that we know we can execute, and we know how it tastes, and we know the flavor profiles, and we're confident in our product. I mean, there's a lot of things we could do for a lower price point, but it's just not our brand. And it's just, for us, we work on a memorable experience, whether it's here or it's a takeout situation. A lot of people are very, very happy. The emails are overwhelming. The response is overwhelming. And we're just trying to execute the food that we would normally do. Aside from, we are doing family style meals, which are also crazy popular. People are really jumping on that as well, where we have a family package and it feeds 4 to 6 people. And, that's had a huge response. But for us, we had to stick to our brand at the end of the day. And we were really, really, we were really nervous about it because.
What sells well? What sort of thing do you say and is it different from normal? A number of your things, they're sort of a greatest hits. You're like, you're going to recognize this 15 Church, but are people ordering differently now than they would say in a normal April?
I think it depends on the night of the week. So during the beginning of the week, we see a lot more family meals, family style meals, where they're going with the 4-person family style meal. This year we did fried chicken on the patio for a long time at 15 Church, and we were like, you know what, let's just do fried chicken and mac and cheese, because that's just what I wanted to eat, mainly because I'm a fatty. But that's what I wanted to eat, and it was so delicious. And we were like, I can do this, I can execute this to go, and it'll work with the proper container. And during the beginning of the week, that was really popular. As we started to get into Friday and Saturday, we started to see a lot of the a la carte start to come in. People were just ordering what they wanted, and a lot of people were ordering the family meals, and they were ordering a la carte stuff. For us, last week, the most popular was our Korean fried shrimp, which we normally do on our patio menu most of the season. We sold tons of that. That was an overwhelming response. The fried chicken was an overwhelming response. And some of our other ticket items, like the rabbit pasta we did last week, a lot of people ordered it a la carte. A lot of people got a family meal and a rabbit pasta because they know it, they've eaten it, they want it, they crave it. And we're just trying to do what we normally do, but there's some stuff that I'm not going to be able to do that's on our normal menu that is not going to travel well, and I'm just not going to take that. For example, our gnocchi.
Yeah.
Normally our gnocchi we sell so much gnocchi, it's unbelievable. I mean, I roll this stuff out all day, 7 days a week, and we experiment with it. What we basically do is we sit down, I'll make the entire menu, and we'll let it sit for an hour. And we'll go from there. And then from there we say, okay, this is going to work, this travels well, this is soggy, doesn't work. That, for instance, is something we get tons of calls about. People want it, and if somebody really wants it, normally we'll try to make it happen, but it does not travel well. It falls, it doesn't come together like it normally does, and it's not the same. And I don't want it to be a representation of how we normally are. So for me, I just haven't ran it.
What about fish? I mean, you guys sell a lot of sea bass in a normal life. Can you sell a $45 piece of sea bass now that's going to be okay when I get it home?
The sea bass I already played with this week. It is 100% awesome, and it is totally fine to travel. So we're excited about that. We're not running it this week because it's also about product. I mean, that sea bass, I have FedEx to us. I mean, that comes on dry ice to me every single day. Parkland Islands, beautiful whole fish. And that's why we have to charge what we charge for that sea bass. It's not something that nobody else can get. It's really the only thing that we can get.
Right.
But however, I had to make sure now with this pandemic and FedEx and, deliveries and things like that, everything is different. So we had to do an experimental run, see how long it took to come in, see if it was available, and it is available. We're going to still be able to get it. So it's either going to be on next week or maybe the week after. We don't know exactly what we're going to do next week yet, but.
All right. But so give us a preview of this week. What's new? Anything new this week that you're particularly proud of, that you think is interesting, or you just want to pitch that says, hey, I won't mind making 70 orders of this?
Well, for us, we're going to do some favorites. We're doing duck meatballs, which I sell a lot at the restaurant. People love those, and they do travel really well. Those are very, very popular. The duck meatballs we're going to do. The family style meal. I never thought I'd say it, but my family style meal is going to be meatloaf, but it's going to be the meatloaf that, Paul McCullough and Jimmy and Tom Burke and everybody craves whenever I make it. It's kind of like I have to make it at home, and then I have to make trays for everybody else whenever I make it and bring it to work the next day. But we're going to do my meatloaf, and it's just going to be an old school meatloaf and with just mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts and just old school family style food, but we're just going to execute it, and we're going to make sure I have the best meat that I could possibly use and cook it the way I normally cook it. And I think it's going to be very popular as far as the beginning of the week. But I mean, we're doing home style meals, because I think that's just what the community response, that's what it is. That's what they want. So we're going to do chicken cordon bleu this week. I'm going to do just a lemon garlic sole, a really simple sauteed egg battered sole with saffron jasmine rice is going to travel perfectly. I think that's going to be very, very popular. And definitely the meatballs. The meatballs 100% are taking the show this week. I already know.
All right, I don't know if I haven't had lunch yet, so let's steer away from the actual menu items. How many people on staff? How many people are getting paid to work at 15 Church now to turn out 100 plus to 160 meals?
Well, during the week, we have to try to stay 6 feet apart from each other while we're cooking, which is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. That is really the most difficult part. But we have every single member of staff that we've had here is working now full time. It's busy enough to where we have everybody employed. And
well, that's just in the kitchen. That can't be with the servers, is it?
It is. Well, it is, because it's all. We also are doing specialty cocktails to go, and etc. And they have to make these cocktails to order. Certain things can't sit for a certain amount of time, etc. And they're doing the same thing. The bartenders are still here doing their thing. Servers, there's a system. We have the whole back of the restaurant lined up back there with a person on each station, and it all staggers its way down until it gets to the front, until it gets to Jimmy in the front, and then everything gets put together and out it goes. But on a Friday night, we have our full staff here, and we need it. And we need it. So
That's pretty amazing. You're probably among the very few that can say that they're fully employed.
yeah, exactly. And that was it was hard. It's hard not working. It's hard with uncertainty, but we had to do something. The overwhelming amount of emails, the community support. We got people driving from Albany. We got people driving from Lake George. It's just, we were so overwhelmed from it. We didn't know what to do. And we're so grateful. And we had to do something. My staff was cracking up. There's only so many days in a row you can sharpen your knives for. You can only do so much. There's only so much home cooking I can do. I'm just eating tons of food, cooking tons of food at home. Everybody's mad at me for cooking tons of food at home. So I'm like, I got to do something. So we decided to come in, and everybody was excited to get back to work. And it was an overwhelming amount of orders this week. And I'm nervous to see what this week is going to bring, because I think it's also going to be overwhelming. But I'm happy at the same time, because every single one of my staff members that I've had for years, they're all working full-time weeks, and they're all back to work. And it's all just because of the community outreach and how this turned out. People are so grateful for us. And,
Well, looking forward, let's say, people start to be able to go back out in a month or two, let's say by July. Have you had discussions among management about what might change at 15 Church as a result of whether it's what you've learned or how you'll handle things? Or when you can start to feed it people again, how are things different if they are?
Well, I mean, I think it all matters on whether we're going to be able to do a 50% capacity, or how that's going to work when everything gets turned back on here. Because, I mean, we can seat a lot of people on the patio. We can seat a decent amount of people inside. So I think for us right now, we're all very confident that nothing is going to have to change staffing, management wise. I think we're going to be business as usual, just because of how these weeks have been going so far with this takeout. But I think we're going to have to operate at half capacity, and at half capacity, we're still going to have to give the same amount of service and the same quality of service and the same quality of food. So as far as our end, I don't think anything's going to change for us. Our staffing is going to be the same. I'm going to be able to hire more people, and I think we'll be able to help in that area, because there are a lot of people that aren't working, and I'm going to need a lot more people than I have right now, because it's getting busy.
And do you think if you were able to open at 50% capacity, would you still be able to handle takeout? I mean, because those 50% of people who aren't sitting and they're going to have so much enjoyed takeout, going to want to do that too. And yet at a restaurant like yours, if you got on a busy Friday night during the track season, if you got 6 takeout orders, you guys would be swearing up a storm. What a horrible thing to happen.
You know what? We haven't even thought about that yet, to be honest. I'm sure we will now, but for us, I feel like personally, I feel like we're going to operate at the 50% capacity if we have to, and we're going to concentrate on exactly what we normally do. I think we're not going to do anything that's going to mark our brand or put us out in a negative way. So we're just going to do, if we think that we can pull it off and we're able to organize it properly so that we can pull it off, we're going to do it. If it's not possible, we don't think we're going to be able to get the to-go out food like we're doing right now, then we probably won't do it. We're going to do, at the end of the day, what's going to be fair to the guests in the restaurant as well as the ones outside the restaurant. We don't want to give them something that is not going to be 100%.
I had a poll on the Table Hopping blog that asked people what their expectation was for their own willingness to go back out.
Yeah.
And I asked about both arts venues and for restaurants. And for restaurants, and it's probably a self-selecting audience because Table Hopping is a restaurant blog, but even there, while there was 40+% of people saying, absolutely, I'm going to go back out immediately and often, there still were almost an equal number who said it'll be 6 months or until there's a vaccine. And so if you don't have that 50% of your audience, what can you do, you think, as a restaurant, that once you're permitted to reopen, what can you do to reassure those people who may be a little hesitant about coming back in?
Well, I mean, for us, like I said, I mean, I have a designated person every day just on sanitation. I mean, from the doorknobs to entryways to windows, anything somebody's going to physically touch. My entire staff are always wearing face masks. We always have gloves. We have the proper sanitation equipment. We've always been a very clean restaurant. We've always been a higher end restaurant, an occasion place, and we take our cleanliness very seriously. So for us, it was just another day at the office as far as
Right.
staying clean, cleanly, and
Well, but imagine once people are sitting in the dining room, are they
of
going to have
course.
a server with a face mask?
Of Well, if we have to, we will. Yeah, if we have to, I believe that we will. I mean, it depends on what gets lifted and what doesn't, and what we're able to do. I think as far as us reopening, they're going to let us know exactly what we're going to need to do to reopen the restaurant, and hopefully they do. Because right now we don't know what's going to happen. We could be doing this for a long time. We have no idea.
You said you were cooking a lot at home. What have you found elsewhere for takeout, or on the way home you pick up something? What have you found that you've enjoyed eating from other restaurants?
Well, it's hard because I've gotten takeout from a lot of other restaurants, and some of them I've liked, and some of them I haven't liked at all. But for me, I feel like the hardest part about takeout is people always are trying to get ahead as much as they can, and I've realized that we're just not able to do that. If we're gonna do a duck meatball, we're gonna make the duck meatball to order. If we're gonna do, the sole like we're gonna do this week with the lemon butter, I'm gonna do it to order. You can't get ahead on stuff like that, and I think that's mainly what you as a chef or even as a consumer who gets a lot of takeout, if it was made right away, if it was made a la minute, or
Right.
you can tell.
Well, hang on a second here. I'm going to startle you and the viewers by walking over and looking what sort of horrible machine is out. They're blowing something up in the street, here. So I was not expecting. I've had road construction for weeks out my
Oh,
window,
terrible.
and yeah, well, and
You can't even escape it.
there was nothing there today, so I thought I was safe to open the window on a beautiful sunny day, and instead some giant vacuum. So I apologize for. There we go. All right, I apologize for walking across the room in the middle of the interview. So,
Also, I mean, we're starting to get to the point where if people are going to start coming into the building, et cetera, if this gets, lifted and we operate at whatever capacity we're able to, there's probably going to be a different way we're going to do check presentation. And there's a big possibility we might have to do something with dividers, et cetera. It's something that we started to look into right now, but whatever we have to do, we're going to do to make it happen. I mean, it's inevitable that we are going to reopen eventually. Everybody will be able to reopen eventually, and we're just going to put our foot forward and do what we think is the safest thing to do for our guests.
is this the most significant professional challenge you faced?
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever hopefully face it again. It was just the first week was a little hard to come to terms with after in a certain groove and your staff is in a groove and you do something for so long and then all of a sudden you're not able to, and you can't even go out, and you can't even, it was a lot to really absorb. To not be in the kitchen for a while was a lot, but I'm happy that we decided to get back into it, because I was cracking up a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It was a little too much free time.
All right. Well, when I get back there this summer, popcorn soup.
Oh, yes.
And raw clams.
Yep.
And a glass of really cold white wine sitting on the patio.
That sounds really great. I'll take 2 of each right now.
All right. Very good. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. This has been Chef Mike Mastrantuono from 15 Church in Saratoga Springs. They do takeout Wednesday through Saturday nights. Check out their presence on Facebook. There's a different menu each week. And they've got family meals as well as a la carte stuff, really fancy steaks, and then things just as humble as duck meatballs. And is Chef Mike's rabbit pasta coming back this week?
Not this week. It'll probably be back next week. Next week, we're going to go a little bit more Italian, but I'm really right now just trying to gear up for Mother's Day. We're going to do a big Mother's Day. I'm doing Chateaubriand, corn pudding, asparagus puff pastry. I'm going for it. So
all right,
a big one too.
Very good. Thanks very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Good
talking to you.
From the Times Union and Table Hopping, signing off. We'll be back next week at 1 p.m. on Tuesday. So eat well and be well, and have a good afternoon.